The Mongol Empire is probably one of the best empires when it comes to land by conquest or by influence. Genghis Khan, one of the biggest statues ever in Ulaanbaatar. I hope I said that right. What an interesting, what a fascinating empire. But what happened after it fell? Let's watch SideQuest. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's do this. Interesting intro. What did the Mongols do after the Mongol Empire? Okay.
A long time ago, my friends, in the early 1200s, in fact, Genghis Khan created the largest empire the world had ever known. It stretched from the Black Sea to Korea, from Siberia to the borders of India. It was big. 9 million square miles big. 16% of the Earth's land mass big. In its various forms, the Mongol Empire existed for hundreds of years and had a lasting impact on cultures from China and India to Europe. But when and how did it actually end? And what happened afterwards? Well, if your immediate answer involves blood, slaughter and war, then you're not far off the mark. Although they did do a few other things as well. The Mongol Empire didn't per se end so much as it instead descended into a series of civil wars between its supposed heirs. Remember, the Mongols were not one people, but a hodgepodge.
Hold on, we gotta look at this. The Kamag Mongol, the Karaites, the Tatars, the Merkits. Interesting. Let me know if you guys know any of these four subsets. I'll be. What will it be? I'll be. Sorry, what's the word? Not surprised. I'll be impressed if you know one of these four.
Of various tribes and clans, each with a long history of raids, battles, and blood feuds. Ooh. On top of that, after Genghis's death, they split into different factions, each loyal to one of his.
Team Tolu, Team Argeli, I'm so sorry. Ogday, Team Joshi, Team Chagatai.
His sons.
Okay.
And as they conquered more and more lands,
so
tensions only increased. Should they keep to their original culture, riding horses across the steppe and killing anything that looked at them sideways?
They're not that. They weren't that brutal, were they?
What are you looking at? Go away. Yes. Or should they enjoy the benefits of their conquests and live in actual houses? That was just one of the tough choices that Genghis's heirs had to face. Unfortunately, the laws and customs they observed were silent on such issues. The system of laws that Genghis created was called Yasa, but it only aimed at binding together the nomad clans and creating utter loyalty to the Great Khan himself.
The Great Khan
himself.
So, did he think of himself as a messiah figure? Genghis?
And any wrongdoing was mercilessly punished. Go hunting and kill an animal during a banned month? Decapitation. Go hunting but let the animal escape? Well, decapitation. Just plain kill an animal but in the Islamic fashion? Well, you guessed it. Decapitation. Sorry. You see, it worked when the Great Khan was strong and unquestioned, but it became a very convenient way to justify killing someone. And it didn't help that the laws weren't really written down anywhere. So anyone...
Oh, it's like a code, like a pirate's code.
...could apply their own flavor of justice. There.
Subjective.
And so, once the Mongols had conquered just about everybody else, the only people they had left to fight were, well, themselves.
Civil War?
So, when Genghis's grandson, Great Khan Monke, died without naming an heir, all hell broke loose. First off, Monke's two brothers, Kublai and Arik, went at it, with Kublai coming out on top. Good on you, Kublai. But that was just a warm-up for the main event. Because when Kublai summoned his nobles to swear allegiance, his cousin Kaidu refused to bend the knee, kicking off a 30-year insurrection. Nasty. By the end, the empire had split into four...
Wow, look at that. So you have basically what was the Persian Empire. You have the upper side. You have basically Tibetan and the mountains and a lot of what we think of like when we are thinking of Central Asia. Then you have like China, Korea, Mongolia. Wow.
Separate
And this is the
khanates. The
Yan
Chagatai
dynasty, I think,
Khanate
at the
in Central
time.
Asia, the Golden Horde in Russia,
Yep.
the Il Khanate in the Middle East, and the Yuan dynasty
The Yuan, that's what I meant.
in China. So, was that the end of the Mongol Empire?
No.
Well, it was the beginning of the end, certainly. While Kublai's line kept the title of Great Khan, ruling the empire in name if not in practice, it didn't help when the Chinese Red Turbans rebelled half a century later. The last Great Khan fled China and died in exile, ironically in Mongolia, leaving
I think that's not ironically at all. I think that's like chef's kiss to like an ending.
the Chinese a free people once more. So, was this the end of the Mongol Empire?
Yes.
Well, it's more like the middle of the end.
Oh.
The end of the end comes from the other end of the empire. Over there. Yes. Just a bit to the left. There. That's the one. Over there. The Il Khanate wasn't doing so well. In the mid-1300s, it fell to a combination of the Black Death and the Golden Horde. In fact, the same Golden Horde that innovatively used biological warfare to capture Catha in the
Biological warfare in the 1300s? Like sick people?
Crimean Peninsula. They catapulted the dead bodies of their plague victims over the walls to infect the Genoese populace of the city.
What an intelligent group that was.
Very clever. Who, of course, then ran back home to Europe, bringing the Black Death along with them. Eventually, the Chagatai Khanates...
But I think the Black Death really came through like a lot of the trade that the mercantile empires of the European side had in the plague. I thought it was like the fleas on rats and the rats that travel with the ships, and then that just continued. I don't doubt that the Golden Horde probably exacerbated it, but it was definitely not the reason of the plague itself.
Split in two around the same time as the Il Khanate's demise. The eastern half of the Chagatai Khanate survived until around 1705, while Mongolia, ruled by the exiled Yuan dynasty, remained free until the early 1600s. The Golden Horde, meanwhile, converted to Islam and ruled southern Russia for a few hundred years.
I actually have a coin from the Golden Horde. Started a collection recently. I know you don't care, but there you can find some really inexpensive coins from the Mongol times online. So if you want a piece of history in your pocket, well, don't carry it around. But if you want a piece of history, definitely go for it. It's so cool, and you can think about it. This coin could have been in the pocket of a warrior that was sending one of those bodies over the fences, over the walls. Such a cool thing. So,
falling to the Russian Empire after it too broke up
Tsar
into
Russia.
smaller and smaller khanates. But the real Mongol legacy comes from the changes brought about by the Mongol Empire. I mean, sure, they razed entire cities, killed maybe 40 million people or so, and helped spread the Black Death into Europe. But they also established the first period of peace in Eurasia. The Pax Mongolica linked the east to the west via the Silk Road, allowing the trade of goods and ideas such as paper, the printing press, and gunpowder. Ooh, it really did go off with a bang. The Mongols also encouraged the arts, sciences, and teaching. They created paper money centuries before Europe and built the most effective postal system at the time.
Wasn't China the first to create paper money? I think so.
And if you travel the Silk Road today, you're likely to meet a number of Genghis's descendants.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Around 16 million men in Central Asia today are descended from one man who lived in that region about 1,000 years ago.
I wonder how they determined that, like the mitochondrial DNA, like did they link like the mDNA all the way up to Genghis, or like a particular known relative of him?
Ah, Genghis, you old dog, you. So, after the Mongol Empire fell, the Mongols, well, carried on being Mongols. They
Nomadic
fought,
people.
raided, and killed across Asia.
Yeah.
But without the unity that Genghis inspired, they were isolated and conquered one at a time, until eventually, even their own homeland was no longer their own. So sad. Well then, folks, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like Inner Mongolia is an actual province state of China. And then Mongolia is like its own little piece, and we've done videos on that. Ulaanbaatar in that region is pretty much the most populated area, and then there's this weird steppe area of Mongolia that's not very populated, very like sparse. So it's an interesting thing here. But look, the Mongols, they did their thing for a few hundred years, and over time, the dynasty just did not have the infrastructure to hold itself together like the Roman Empire did. I argue the Roman Empire was far more influential, obviously, than the Mongol Empire, just because it had a little bit more stability. And a lot of people don't think of the Roman Empire as stability, but they had stability for a long time. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Leave a comment down below. Peace out. Bye-bye.